What up, guys? It's your boy Matt from RamseyVoice.com, and I am so excited you're here because today we are going to cover a subject that is very near and painfully dear to my heart, which is how to sing low notes. And I feel like I'm probably one of the worst people on earth to teach this subject. Why? Because I'm a super high tenor. And as you probably know, tenor is the highest male voice type. However, because I'm a tenor, I know just how important it is to be able to sing low notes, even for a guy, down to like a C3, without sounding like I'm just pushing everything in my voice down in order to sing those lower notes. So if you've struggled with hitting lower notes and sounding good doing it, this video is for you. You're gonna get 3 huge things out of watching our lesson today. You're gonna learn the number 1 mistake that most singers make when they go to sing low notes. Number 2, you're gonna learn out what actually creates those low notes. And finally, number 3, I'm gonna show you my 5 favorite exercises for improving the quality and the sound of those low notes. You ready? Let's do this. Now, before we jump in today, you guys know what you gotta do. You gotta smash that like button, comment with the next kind of video that you wanna see me do, and subscribe and turn on notifications for this channel. Or if you're ready to improve your singing voice today, check out my complete singing course, Master Your Voice. Just click the link to get on the wait list. Now, everyone wants to learn how to sing low notes better. So we should actually talk about where low notes actually come from in your voice. Low notes come from when the vocal cords or your vocal folds that are inside of your throat here are thick and vibrating slowly. Thicker chords will actually vibrate slower. Just like, imagine that I've got a rubber band in between my fingers. So if I stretch out that rubber band and I flick it, then it's gonna make a bang, 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 bang sound. But if I start to slacken it and the rubber band starts to thicken itself and it becomes more slack, then it'll be boom, 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 if it actually even makes an audible tone at all. Your vocal cords work in exactly the same way. The slacker and the thicker the vocal cords, the lower that they're going to resonate, the lower that they're going to sound. You can also think of the same thing with a guitar. The thicker the guitar string, the lower the sound that you're gonna get out of it. And the vocal cords work the same way. The vocal cords thickening is the exact same reason why you can actually sing lower notes in the morning when you're first waking up, because your vocal cords, it's kind of gross, but your vocal cords are still full of fluid, which makes them vibrate more thickly or more slowly, which creates those lower notes. I also have a video where I taped my voice over 3 different days when I was contracting laryngitis. And you can hear on the first day, it sounds totally normal. Second day, it starts to get lower. Then third day, it gets even lower. And again, that's just because my vocal cords started filling with fluid to prevent the infection. And that's exactly what made the vocal cords vibrate so slowly.
What up, Facebook and Instagram? Matt Ramsey with Octave Higher, day 2. Austin High School. What's up, Instagram and Facebook? This is... What's up, Instagram and Facebook? This is Matt Ramsey with the Octave Higher East Voice Studio, and I've got laryngitis.
So how do we actually get the vocal cords to thicken up a little bit? We're gonna jump right on into that in just a moment. Now, a lot of people ask me, can you learn to sing lower notes? And the answer is yes, to a point. Whereas with high notes, you can basically stretch out that rubber band, or you can stretch out those vocal cords to almost as far as you possibly can, and you can still add a little bit more to your high notes, a little bit at a time. With the vocal cords, they can really only slacken or thicken so much, which means that the lower part of your voice, the lower range of your voice, is a little bit limited. But don't let that stop you. Even if you're a higher tenor like me, you should still practice singing lower notes because it's so important that you're able to sing them in songs. Now, before we jump into the exercises, I promised you that I was going to tell you the biggest mistake that singers make when they go to sing low notes. And here it is. They drop their larynx too much. Now, what do I mean by that? The larynx, in case you're not familiar, is the voice box that actually has the vocal cords inside of it. So guys, we have this Adam's apple. It's also called a thyroid cartilage. Women have this too. It's just smaller. But regardless, the larynx or your voice box or your Adam's apple, whatever you want to call it, holds the vocal cords inside of it. Now, whatever happens to the larynx is also going to impact what happens to the vocal cords themselves. So if I start dropping my larynx, the sound changes and makes it sound really, really hooty, really dopey, really, really yawny. And what's going to happen as I start to sing lower notes is most singers will drop their larynx in order to get to those lower notes. So like you may go for an ah in order to get to those bottom notes. But the problem with that is that obviously that doesn't sound very good. So what you're looking for is that so that rather than actually sounds like it's still a part of my voice. The reason that you want to avoid dropping your larynx too much when you sing is not only does it sound pretty funny, but also when the larynx is a little bit lower, the vocal cords themselves start to separate and they start to loosen. And all of a sudden you get a lot of extra breath in the sound and you lose the beautiful, rich vocal tone that you usually find on a lower note. So for instance, like I could sing an it sounds really even and rich because my vocal cords are closing really completely. However, if I drop my larynx too much to hit that bottom note, you can hear that there's a little bit of extra breath in there, but additionally, really, it's losing a lot of the richness because it just sounds kind of funny. Now, a lot of people are gonna say, hey, I thought you were supposed to keep your larynx low when you're singing. While yes, it may be true that you want to keep your larynx low as you sing from low to high, you always want to keep it balanced. You don't want it to let it be too low so it sounds really hooty and dopey like this, but you also want to make sure that it's not too high. At all times, you want to keep your larynx resting. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and jump into my 5 favorite exercises to help you hit lower notes right now. The first exercise to learn to hit lower notes better is really just kind of a mental shift. Rather than quote unquote singing those low notes, I want you to focus on just trying to speak them a little bit more. Here's what I see a whole lot. A singer will sing an they're trying to make everything sound too pretty. But instead of focusing on singing it, I want you to try to focus on just speaking it. Like you're saying, eat. Like, eat. And even though that may sound really ugly or too normal or too flat to you, it's way better than and losing all tone because I'm trying to sing it. As I mentioned before, the biggest mistake that most singers make as they start to sing low notes is they drop their larynx too much. So my second favorite exercise to help you hit those lower notes is to just watch what your larynx is doing. You can watch it in a mirror. You can also just gently feel it with your thumb and your first finger and try to make sure that it's not going too low. So if I'm singing down to low notes, I can feel very gently the first step is just becoming aware of what your larynx is doing as you start to sing down to those lower notes. If you're able to keep it a little bit more balanced, if you feel it dropping too much, try to avoid that temptation. Don't push into it. Again, keep it very, very spoken, very, very easy, but just allow those bottom notes to come in rather than and you'll notice a huge difference. The third exercise for singing lower notes that I want to show you is really actually a vocal exercise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple different vocal exercises which will help you hit those lower notes, and I'm going to do it in keys for guys and for girls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right here. We're just going to sing a 5-tone scale descending. So starting from the 5th, walking down to the 1. So it'd be like on solfege, sol, fa, mi, re, do, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever makes sense to you. But in this particular exercise, you're just going to do a 5-tone descending on an E vowel. Now, why do I choose an E vowel? An E vowel, a lot of people would probably say, wait, wouldn't you want to sing really, really chesty vowels like ah and when you're singing low notes? Well, actually, the really crazy thing about this is that the big, open, what we tend to think of as chesty vowels only work to a certain point when we go to sing lower notes. And I'll show you what we mean. So if you are singing on an open vowel like an ah, it's really tempting for me to drop my larynx to hit those lower notes. Whereas with an E, if I sing that on an E, it's way easier for me to sing down to that low note in my voice. Why is that? Well, because the narrow vowels just tend to line up with those lower resonances better. So even though you might get more chest voice on more open vowels, more close vowels like an E and an OO, for instance, will actually help you hit those lower notes even better. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just sing our 5-tone descending E vowels, starting right here. So go E. Remember, don't push. Just keep it spoken like you're saying eat. 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 2 more. Eat. It's starting to get a little tougher for a high tenor like myself, but if you can do it, keep going. Focus on just keeping that E very forward and do not push a lot of volume. E. Nice. Now, ladies, let's do that same thing and let's try that right here. We're gonna start right here from an E4. So we'll go from an E. Again, just try to keep it very forward. Do not let that larynx drop. E. E. This is probably going to start getting a little bit tough for you here, but again, try to avoid dropping the larynx. Maybe feel that as you sing down. E. And the last one here. E. Great job, everyone. In our 4th exercise for singing lower notes, I'm gonna do the exact same scale that we just did. However, this time we're gonna do it on an OO. And again, both an OO and an E being the 2 narrowest vowels in the standard kind of language sounds that we use, will have the resonances line up with those lowest notes best. So rather than singing or an ah, we're actually gonna go for those more narrow vowels. Let's do that same thing right here for guys, starting right here. So, ooh, ooh. And again, guys, if you start feeling things are getting too low, your larynx is dropping too much, again, try to just imagine speaking it instead, like you're saying, oops. 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 Nice. This is gonna get a little bit tough for me here, but if you can do it, keep on going. Oops. Last one. Oops. And notice as I go lower, I'm not trying to push more into it. Most singers will make that mistake while they're they'll drop their jaw too much and they'll drop their larynx. Instead, ooh, I'm thinking upwards as I go there. Ladies, let's do that same thing, starting right here from E4. So, ooh, again, keep it spoken, do not push. Ooh. Excellent job, guys. Now, in our final exercise for singing low notes, I'm gonna take you off of the vocal exercises and I'm gonna just pretend that you need to sing a low note in a song. What do you do if you have to sing a low note in a song? Yeah, it's easy to do it on an E and an OO, but what if you actually have to sing those notes when it actually comes time to matter most? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna give you an example. For instance, we can look at Take Me to Church by Hozier. Hozier's a baritone. He can sing much, much lower notes than I can in my higher tenor voice, but I still really love to sing his songs sometimes. So for even that low note in that, my lover's got humor, she's a giggle at a funeral, gets down to a D3 there. Now, even though that's a little bit of a comfortable note for me, oftentimes it can still be really, really tough because it's very tempting to drop down. She's a giggle at a funeral. And a lot of people do that all the time, is they'll drop their larynx super much, really, really quickly, and it's gonna sound really, really hooty and ingawny like that. Instead, what you wanna do is you can just narrow the vowel slightly. Again, those more narrow, more close vowels will actually line up better with those lower resonances in your voice. So all you have to do is just take a giggle and maybe make it a tiny bit closer to a giggle. G is just a little bit more narrow than g. So instead of she's a giggle at a funeral. Do you see what I did there? All I did was substitute the vowel for the next one that's a little bit narrower than that, and I've got it. Guys, awesome job. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am sure that if you practice these exercises a little bit every day, and even when you're singing in songs that have low notes, you're gonna find it super, super helpful. And if you guys found this video helpful, make sure to smash that like button, comment with the next kind of video that you wanna see me do, subscribe, and turn on notifications for this channel.